Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the relatively common grass-type Pokemon Petilil, the Bulb Pokémon, and its relatively rare evolution Lilligant, the Flowering Pokémon. While they might seem fairly unassuming and not much of a threat, the members of the Petilil family are interesting plants that can definitely give a good performance in a fight if allowed to show the full array of grass-type powers at their disposal. Petilil possess onion-shaped bodies with a fleshy root pad on their lower form that is split into a number of small, limb-like structures that help them to move around, though not very quickly. Their face is adorned with a pair of red photoreceptors that act as eyes for them, with a series of 3 large green leaves adorning the top of their head. The rest of their body is normally colored a light green color, with a dark green skirt separating their main body from the lower root structure and a white, fleshy face. Their evolved form, Lilligant, possess much more visually complex forms that are strikingly humanoid in shape, complete with a series of 4 yellow root bases that can be moved freely like legs, and a pair of dark green leaf-like structures on the sides that can be manipulated like arms. Their lower torso has a bulb-like form to it, with a series of 4 large light green petals that cover their white central stem, which is exposed where some would call their belly area. They have a collar of 4 yellow leaf-like petal forms at their neck, and their central head retains the white color of their pre-evolved form, with bright orange photoreceptors and a veil of light green plant material that covers their upper head and extends downward towards their root feet and to the sides like flowing hair. The top of their head is adorned with a massive flower, with dark green sepal leaves at their base, bright orange patterned petals, and a series of yellow stamen with orange bulb-like protrusions at the ends that give the overall inner structure the appearance of a crown. The members of the Petilil family are unique among grass-type Pokemon for being one of the closest in terms of biology to normal plants, and as a result, their behavioral characteristics are incredibly simple, though this does not make them any easier to take care of. These plants need constant exposure to moist, nutrient-rich soil with clean water in order to grow and develop properly, and they are incredibly picky about where they choose to plant themselves. If they find that a bed of soil is not nutrient-rich enough for them to get what they need from it to grow, they will become angry and will uproot themselves and travel until they can find a patch of earth that satisfies them, sometimes doing so in massive droves. This can make them great indicators of soil quality and thus incredibly helpful to farmers and gardeners as a whole. But at the same time, it can make it frustrating for trainers that are always on the move and need them to develop rapidly in a short period of time. Normally, it can take years for Petilil in particular to store up enough energy to evolve into their adult state, especially since they and their evolved form are an all-female family and thus can only reach maturity through determination and patience rather than it being a part of their natural reproductive cycle. But this process can be sped up with the radiation emitted from a sunstone. As a result of their simple biology, these flowering plants don't really get access to much in the way of physical offense. In fact, Petilil are completely incapable of naturally learning any sort of physical attack, and while Lilligant do get access to one such attack, it is still a projectile attack, leaving them completely unable to directly attack in close quarters to defend themselves effectively. Even so, these plants do have some powerful secrets hidden in their form, and can prove to be a hassle to deal with in certain circumstances. Not surprisingly, as a result of their plant nature, these creatures get access to Chlorophyll as a base ability and Leaf Guard as a hidden ability, but it is noted that they can also gain access to Own Tempo as a second base ability, likely being a direct byproduct of the herb-like medicinal quality of the leaves that grow on their bodies. As far as their stats go, in the case of Lilligant, while their physical forms restrict their overall defensive and physically offensive abilities and limit their overall stamina, they are deceptively fast as a result of an advanced neural network controlling their root tips and can use their special powers fairly well, granting them above-average base special attack and speed stats for a fully evolved grass-type Pokemon, even if everything else is below average. As such, while these plants might not look like much of a threat at first, they can still hit decently hard and fast, giving them a leg up in the mobility department compared to many other plant-based Pokemon. While Petilil, whose bodies can be shaped into a plump, aesthetically pleasing form with regular pruning, are unable to move very effectively. Said pruning can be difficult as they can get access to a number of status-inflicting moves over the course of their lifetime, so they are thankfully not completely and utterly defenseless outside of their limited offenses. However, it is important to note that they tend to be valued for a different reason than their combat abilities, namely that they are essentially walking pharmaceuticals. The 3 leaves that grow on the heads of these creatures are actually known to possess powerful medicinal properties, as while they taste incredibly bitter, they have the ability to instantly revitalize anyone that eats them, especially if they have been boiled into an infusion beforehand. This has made the creatures incredibly popular among the makers of herbal medicine and the elderly especially, but it is noted that one should not get too carried away with harvesting them. While Petilil can instantly regrow their leaves if they just fall out on their own, which happens on a daily basis as the leaves lose their potency and energy-generating effectiveness after about a day of existing, if the leaves are forcefully plucked from them, not only does it cause them great discomfort, but it also prevents them from regrowing them for several days, and if they lose all of their leaves, they will become incredibly ill and may not survive for long without constant exposure to sunlight to help speed up their regenerative processes. As such, it is wise to give these creatures time alone and simply pick up what leaves they discard, rather than being impatient and trying to take them by force, something that will also likely be greeted with a face full of toxic powder. When Petilil finally evolve into Lilligant, either through natural processes or from exposure to a sunstone, these creatures lose access to nearly all of the moves they can learn as Petilil, as their body changes form to enable them to utilize a different type of tactical defense and offense altogether: dancing. While they might not look like it, a more complex and powerful neural array in the body of these plants allows them to move their otherwise stubby root feet deceptively quickly, not only granting them triple the base speed stat of their pre-evolved form, but also allowing them to express their thoughts and desires intelligently through interpretive dance. This further translates into their moves, as after evolution, these creatures will primarily rely on 4 moves to help them get through serious confrontations: Teeter Dance to help them confuse and potentially incapacitate opponents, Quiver Dance to help increase their mobility and overall special powers, and the Petal Dance and Petal Blizzard attacks as direct forms of offense. What tends to garner the attention of the most more so, though, is the impressive and beautiful flower that grows on their head. Getting this flower to bloom is incredibly challenging, as these plants require perfect soil and water conditions and just the right amount of sunlight, and even then, they tend to be more beautiful in appearance when they bloom naturally and are not forced to through artificial treatment and or enhancement. While the flower is an incredible sight to behold, the flower's existence is fleeting, for when these creatures come across a compatible male Pokemon of a species that they can breed with, the flower will darken, droop, and wither immediately after pollination, making way for them to create and disperse seeds before the cycle starts all over for them. The fragrance given off by the flower is said to be simply divine and incredibly relaxing, being able to calm one's heart and mind in a single sniff, and is slightly different depending upon the type of soil they are raised in, helping to make them a popular ornamental flower to see among the homes of the rich and famous. It further serves as a good indicator of their health, as the flower will only cease to emit this fragrance when it begins to wilt and rot. This is an important signal because Lilligant and the flower are linked together biologically, so if the flower dies, so does the Lilligant it's attached to. As such, these plants can be a handful to take care of, but their elegance both in and out of the battlefield can still make them worthwhile fighters to rely on if needed. They may tend to be more about appearances than force in any battle they are a part of, but the members of the Petilil family are still unique plants that can definitely use the powers of the grass type to great effect when required in a fight. You might have to hunt down a rare sunstone if you want to make the most of their natural powers if you can't patiently wait for them to evolve on their own, But if you're the kind of person that likes a little bit of dance to go into every fight you are a part of, then these are definitely the plants for you. Just make sure that if you can get them evolved into a Lilligant, that you take good and constant care of them and never leave them to fend for themselves. It takes an excruciating amount of effort in some cases to get the flower on them to bloom, and if you don't watch every environmental factor related to their growth and health carefully, all that effort and training might go to waste if the poor flower wilts and you end up losing your Pokemon along with it. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
Yeah, no.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.